This is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield from the Lind Group. When a part of your financial strategy is out of tune, your long-term goals, your retirement savings, and your legacy can all suffer. With many years of experience in the financial industry, Michael provides his clients and prospects with the information they need regarding Social Security, retirement income planning, wealth management, and much more. Listen in as we address your financial concerns and provide helpful solutions to put you on the path to achieving your retirement goals. And now, here is The Wealth Puzzle with Michael Mansfield.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Wealth Puzzle. I'm Tana Pennington here with Mike Mansfield. And today we've got a lot of information to cover, things that are definitely going to have an impact on your retirement. We're going to look at possibly some information with Social Security coming up in 2023, Medicare details also. And then, of course, the bear that we're all facing right now is inflation. But yeah, if you like our content today, check us out on our website, thelindgroup.com. Lind is spelled L-Y-N-D. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. I'm here.
Good.
How's life in Texas? I can tell that it must be
so
cloudy
toasty. It's toasty. There is some cloud coverage, but it is very warm right now. So no rain in sight.
It's the middle of summer.
I know, but
it rained like 3 drops here yesterday. I got the car dirty. It was weird.
Well, at least it was 3 drops.
Yes, there's that. So, it's we're with our drought, you can kind of tell everyone's starting to get weird.
Yeah.
I was walking past a neighbor who, we've known for years, and she was watering something and I could care less, and I say hi and she's like, I don't normally water this.
She thought you were going to report her to the
right. She thought the
water
Gestapo was
conservatory.
Here. The water Gestapo was here to take her away.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So you can kind of tell that the drought is in full swing here by people's anxiety over what their neighbors think. So
yeah, no, I get it.
It's one of those things though. Connor was showing me a map of Lake Casitas though, like an aerial picture of it, and it's crazy how it used to be a full lake, and now it's
right.
All these little islands and things that they had are now giant peninsulas. And I was talking a lot with my hands there, so
it's scary.
Put them back down. Ooh.
Put them back down.
So, anyways, down to business. Let's see what's going on. I don't know. My oldest daughter, my 13-year-old, has decided she wants to be a surfer.
I love it.
So
we'll just let her be for a couple of years.
Well, we're not geared up for it. Like we just don't, I need a truck or something. I'm learning.
Yeah.
And
for the boards.
I swim like a rock. That doesn't help. I am scared to death of the waves when you're out.
Right.
So it's been humbling trying to get into surfing with her.
Surf, yeah.
But heck, we live there. We live there.
Good.
It's like when I lived in Palm Desert next to a golf course, it was hard to say that you don't golf.
That's so true.
So we gotta, we'll give it a little bit of a go here. So anyways, all right. I'm flying blind, everybody. My eyes are closed. I don't know what's going on. Tana is in charge. She said she had things to talk about today. I said I didn't want to know what they were.
Oh, come on.
I wanted to be surprised. And here we are.
Yeah, I kind of have a smorgasbord of things that I think are going to be a little interesting. But just to start out, so CPI came out in June, and we have seen it climb to a little over 9%. So
coming in hot.
Ouch. Yeah, coming in very hot. So that isn't so great. But it's affecting, housing costs. People, their rent is going up. Gas prices, definitely we've seen a huge increase. But while we traveled this weekend, I noticed that things have kind of, come down just slightly, maybe 10 cents, 20 cents in areas, which was nice to see. But again, it's affecting our food prices, utilities, just even my gas bill. I've noticed a significant increase. So not a lot of fun out there to have to face those, changes. And we've been getting phone calls from clients as they're trying to navigate, inflation and higher costs. It's tough because people are, taking money out of their accounts to live off, some income, and they've had to increase that income recently. And, it's not, fun to do that because you're worried about, depleting your assets faster. And
sure.
And, it is worrisome, but there's ways that we can cut back in other areas, especially right now while the market's very volatile. But yeah, good things to
Well, and it's
to
funny,
come, I
right?
think.
So inflation, the consumer price index, all those things are, very visually terrible.
Yeah.
I have to admit, number one, why is anybody surprised?
Yeah,
One of
no.
the things that was happening in June is gas prices in the first half of June were going up like a missile, right? So every day, I mean, I think you and I were joking in June how one day I went to the gas station, and then I drove back later the afternoon, it was 10 cents higher. And then the next day it was 10 cents higher. And,
Yeah.
I thought, what a
It
great
was
deal I got.
drastically increasing, yes.
And so it's hard to think how on earth could CPI, inflation, all this stuff in June be lower, even though that's what everyone hopes for, right? We all hope for the good news. Oh, what normal person thought it could be lower when you saw the energy prices just skyrocketing in June, right? During the demand cycle of the summer travel and all that stuff. Because energy prices affect everything, right? I mean, it's, the energy prices affect this phone and how it ended up in my hands. And so without energy prices rolling over, it's really hard to say that inflation could be softening out. Now, that's interesting because we fast forward to what's happening in July, and energy prices have been softening out. Here locally, gas is probably down the better part of 50 cents a gallon. It's still only $12 a gallon now.
Yeah.
Yeah, you took that literal, Tana.
Well, I know, because 12
California, $12. It sounds
right. Okay, more like 7.
So it is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how the how the inflation starts to read for the next couple months. The challenge that we have with the consumer price index specifically is the way that it's calculated is a third of it is just rentals. And, everything I read about rentals is they don't think that the rate of rentals is really baked in the cake enough. And so that could be what keeps the inflation measure up high. But, obviously, rentals are getting very expensive in these parts, at least. So here's the deal. Everybody thinks the Fed's raising rates to solve inflation, right? I want to get some nods for anyone who watches the show. A lot of people listen to the podcast, but anybody who watches the show, then you get all the non-verbal body language here. So you get the nods in.
The non-verbal.
Right? That's good, right?
Yes,
it adds value. You can really read the room. So look, the Fed's raising rates ain't gonna do all they're going to do is slow the economy down and destroy the economy ultimately and cause a recession. That's kind of what raising rates do, is it's supposed to slow the velocity of money. That actually doesn't have much of an effect on the money supply. Think about it like this. In 2008, we had the worst stock market economic crash in 100 years, right? The Federal Reserves by 2009 had taken interest rates to zero, basically. They kept them at zero for like 7 years. So remember, this would be considered the Fed's running hot, And what happened to inflation in that time period? It barely got above 2%.
Right. Very low.
Well, wait a second. Wait, hang on. Look at nonverbal. I'm looking around. Like people on the podcast don't get to see me doing that. Like how can the Feds have interest rates at 0% for almost 7 years and not cause hyperinflation? Because what happened the last 2 years? In 2020, COVID hits, Feds drop rates to zero. They've been that way for, basically a couple years. And now they're raising rates because, oh my gosh, we lowered rates. We were too accommodative and there's hyperinflation everywhere. Something is completely different. And guess what, everybody? It has nothing to do with interest rates. This is a false something. What I don't know. There's a thought in my head that's not coming together there. It's the didn't eat breakfast thought. There's someone. So anyways, what really affects inflation is, and we've talked about this before, you got to go back to 1913 when the Fed was created. The Fed's job was to control the money supply. If you expand the money supply in an economy that is not expanding, you create inflation. If you shrink it when the economy is shrinking, that's how you control things. So here, let me pull up a chart, everybody. Chart's worth 1,000 words. Hang on. I'm getting there. Boom. There it is. So anybody who's watching this on YouTube or on Rumble, you're going to see the pretty chart. This is the U.S. money supply chart. I'm on a 5-year chart. Here, I'll go to a 10-year chart to be funner. And really what you're looking at, if you're looking at this on the TV, is you see this boring purple line just tooting along. And all of a sudden it lurches up. And then it goes up a lot higher. Here, let me go out to a further chart. Oh my gosh, since 1960, the line's tooting along. And then 2020 COVID hits and the line lurches up like a missile, right? This whole life, the money supply has been fairly controlled, fairly stable. And everyone's going to say, Mike, what about inflation in the 70s? You're a fool. Well, the real reason we had inflation in the 70s and 80s wasn't necessarily about the money supply. That the biggest component of that was Nixon delinking the U.S. dollar from the gold standard, which was the world's biggest mistake we've ever made. But don't get me started on that.
Got us in a lot of trouble.
It did.
Yeah.
But you know what? How else can you print endless amounts of money?
Right.
So anyways, let me zoom back in here. So this little lurch right in the middle of the screen on the chart is basically the money supply in a very consistent way grows at like 5-6% a year. It's feeling really stable. For 2 years, we then grew it at almost 20%. We massively flooded the system with money. We massively printed money. We then took that money that we printed and we created this is also another disparity from the 2008 crash of what happened is in 2008, when the government wanted to create liquidity, they gave the money to the banks. The banks didn't loan any of it out. Here, the government gave the money directly to the people. Give the money to the people.
Oh, yeah. Good point.
And so, stimulus checks, extra unemployment, reduction in tax liability on a lot of stuff. All this stuff put money in people's pockets. More money in people's pockets, chasing goods creates inflation. You then have a supply chain issue as we've had in the last 2 years.
Right.
Now you have less goods. Now you've created hyperinflation. So what is going to make inflation get better is the normalization of the money supply. So let me zoom in. I know everyone's getting weird. So this chart's looking a little funny, right? Let me go to 3 months. Oh, that's not a good chart. Let me go 6 months. Oh, that looks better. In 6 months, the chart's a lot flatter, right? So April was the first month that the money supply ticked down. That's the first time it's gone down on a monthly basis in like 12 years or something. And then last month, it was just basically flat. It grew a micro percentage. It grew 0.01%. So on an annualized basis, this is huge. This is what's bringing down inflation. If this chart holds true and this money supply can level out, what's going to happen is that 20% we were growing at a year, it's going to essentially catch up with the 6% a year it should have been growing. And this is what's going to bring inflation down significantly, is getting the excess reserve money out of the system. There's too much money in the system. And so this is very optimistic to me. The last 2 months have been extremely optimistic that inflation is finally getting under control. Probably, in the first half of next year is where we're going to start to say, oh, God, finally, it seems like it's kind of back to normal. The chaos has ensued. Now, granted, this is what we're watching. So if you're wondering what we're curious about, we followed the U.S. money supply. I don't know. Was there a question there? I don't know. I just started talking about stuff.
No, it's perfect.
Oh, okay. So anyways, CPI bad. It's funny. It's all relative though, right? Like, look at like PPI. So everyone complains like Biden. I was watching this thing the other day and the president was, he was, basically they were saying, here's the things he's going to do to get inflation under control. And one of the things was he's going to pass a bill to stop those evil companies from price gouging. I'm like that is so out of touch with reality. Because here, everybody, if you're watching the show, I just pulled up the producer price index. So this is the price that wholesalers pay for the goods they purchase to then sell you. Now, remember, according to the government, your inflation's up 9%. Their inflation year over year, if you can see the chart, is up 11%. That's not a good sign for them, right?
Right.
I mean, that means that they're paying more than even the inflation you're feeling on this stuff on a generalized basis. So this whole we're going to get those evil companies, that's just useless rhetoric. Let me see if I can find it here. This would be so stupid to play on my phone, but I'll do it if I can find it. Someone sent me the other day this this video. Oh, it's a YouTube video. I wonder if I could find it. I don't know. How do I play this on my phone here? Let's see if I can make it big. Oh, I'm opening up YouTube. This is There it was. Did you hear it, Tana?
Barely.
Oh. I'll load it for next week. I'll load it for next week. It's basically the president giving us some economic advice. You can imagine
Fantastic.
how that goes. Dang it. I wish I had thought of that.
I know, right?
It would have been epic.
Had that ready to go.
All right. So there's that.
Yeah. So
all right. That's it. I'm done talking.
Okay. Nope. Okay. So CPI data, that we're talking about now is also going to be affecting Social Security, which could be a good thing. The cost of living adjustment, COLA, is estimated to be for 2023 an increase of 10.5%. So
it's funny when you said that. I'm like 2023. Well, that's not for a few years.
I know, isn't that weird? I know. I think the same thing. I'm
that
like,
sounded so far out.
2023, right? That's
in
less than 6
months.
months away. Yeah.
That's huge, right?
Yeah.
So we just had an almost 6% cost of living adjustment.
In 2022.
Now they're looking
correct.
at a 10 or 11% adjustment.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy. In a couple years, 15, 16, 17% increase in Social Security.
Yeah. So say for instance, the average retiree benefit is around what, $1,600?
Yeah.
That's maybe like $170 per month increase.
Something like that. Yeah. That'd be interesting.
Bad.
Yeah. That's a half a tank of gas around here.
That's so
it's
terrible.
it's like a you know what everyone says though, Tana?
2 steps forward, 1 step back.
No, so what they say is they're like, okay, you know what? Because every time I say anything that seems like I'm trying to be optimistic like that,
right?
They'll be like, yeah, but then they just take it all back with Medicare.
That's so true. I hear that all the time.
It's very true. But they just took it. I'm like, well, it's true, but it's relative, right? I mean, they increase
just
your
take
thing,
it.
$150, but then they, take an extra 30 out of Medicare. So, but you still end up with,
Ooh, that is another good point. So talking about Medicare, so I was reading that the Medicare program actually made a profit in this year. So, and that's due to the decrease in using, the benefits, especially with Medicare Part A, which is your hospital insurance.
You mean like during COVID?
Yes. So
because people got scared to go to the hospital.
Exactly. So they weren't having to pay out as many benefits or hospital stays. Emergency room visits. Yes.
There's like a lot of mental anxiety with that thought because everything I've read or heard or thought about is a lot of people delayed a lot of the procedures and processes that they would have gotten over the last couple of years because they were nervous about going into those facilities. But now all those people have much stronger illnesses. They didn't catch cancer early or these types of things. So I don't know. That's funny. So no one showed up at the hospital. Medicare made money off you.
They're saying that just the Medicare Part A part of the program has now $337 billion in revenue, which is an $8.5 billion operating profit. So that's good news. But that could also affect Medicare premiums for 2023, as well as a dementia drug, a medication that's very expensive. Treating dementia patients has been cut in half. So that could allow the Medicare program, the government, to offer a lower Medicare Part B premium. And it might only be like $5 to $10.
Yeah,
but at least we're not going to see the jump like we did this year. It went up like $22. So it was very big increase.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So,
wow. That would be amazing. So if you got this giant cost of living adjustment on Social Security and then your Medicare didn't go up, that would be like just, modern miracle. They'll figure out some reason why none of that makes sense. And I'm sure.
Well, I'm just trying to pull out some positive because
those were positives.
Yeah.
Those are good ones. Yeah, it's funny. Oh, let me see if I can find a chart. Hang on. Let me see if I can find something. I'm gonna play devil's advocate on that for a sec. Devil's advocate. That's funny that they made money. All right. Here, I just pulled up the USDebtClock.org. I love this website, right? Because it shows how much money you all owe. If every taxpayer, this is always laughable to me, right? So our U.S. debt is over 30 trillion. And that's what we call current debt. There's unfunded debt, which is all the promises the government makes. It's like 130 trillion.
Ouch.
But it's amazing how they break it up per citizen and then per taxpayer. There's a lot of people in the country. Not a lot of them pay taxes. So
yeah, good point.
It shows how much those tax paying suckers should pony up in order to get this thing paid off. All right. If you scrizzle down here, though, right in the middle of the page, if anybody can see this, if you're watching this, it says largest budget items. So the middle one says Social Security. So these are the three major budget items. You've got Medicare, Social Security, and then military, which is kind of interesting because people always talk about like, oh, we gotta cut the military spending now, which is relevant. But when you look at it as a totality of cost, remember, the federal government is spending that 6 trillion number right below the 30 trillion giant number. It says U.S. federal spending official 6 trillion. That's a lot of money to spend. Something is wrong there, right? And so then it comes down to the biggest budget item. So just list these three. Medicare is 1.4 trillion. Social Security is 1.1 trillion. So defense is only, $750 billion out of the 6 trillion. So it's decent, but it's only like 12% or something of our spending. The other line items are obviously a lot bigger. And then you say, well, wait, if those are those three line items, we're still missing a whole lot of money out of 6 trillion. What are they spending all the other money on?
Right.
And then you scratch your head. Interesting.
You're scratching it a long time.
But you look at this stuff, you say, my goodness, if Social Security goes up 10% next year, that means that we're adding like $120 billion or something to our budget expense. So like I said, on ground level, it's great for everybody to get those increases where everybody needs them to offset inflation, all the chaos of the world. But on the other level, boy, it is just really, it's really putting that much more stress on the totality of our national obligations here.
The consequence,
very interesting. Double-edged sword. So that's depressing.
Okay, we got to end on a positive note.
I don't have any. You're the one with all the positives. I was trying to be negative. It's funny here. I scrolled over a little bit. I can make this screen a little better. Hang on a second. You're like a pointer. We got to figure out how to do like pointery stuff. So if you look at the upper right corner, it says U.S. federal tax revenue. So this year we're bringing in about $4.4 trillion. And then you go to the far left, down one, it says U.S. federal spending. I showed you that, 6 trillion. And then right to the right of that number, it says U.S. federal budget deficit. So this year, so this is hilarious, right? The presidency a few months ago, actually all the time, I apologize. There's just a real formal speech about this. They said, you should pat us on the back because we are reducing the deficit. So, and that's, you want to know what they mean by that? Is last year they spent 7 trillion.
And
this year they're only spending 6. Now remember, we're only bringing in 4. So no matter how you bake the cake, our spending is, that's like Tana saying, hey Mike, good news. last month I put 20 grand on my credit card, and this month I only put 19.
That would never happen. I do not have credit card debt.
As an example.
I don't want. No, thank you.
But that's kind of where we're at. It's like, yeah, but you're still a spending mess.
Right.
You're still spending way too much money.
Mm-hmm.
You're still spending money we don't have.
Exactly.
So, like you want to, but it's a little better. Nino better. So, this is just our government is such a mess. And look, I don't care what your politics are. Republicans are just as guilty as Democrats of spending a lot of money in the last number of years. But there is a issue here of fiscal responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Tan and I are announcing our membership into the Libertarian
Oh, wow.
Party.
I had no idea.
So that we can be fiscally responsible with a strong military. All right. Is that how we end the show?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So look, if you got any questions, let me pop up the old phone number and stuff here. If you have any questions, give us a call. 805-500-7035. That's 805-500-7035. Visit us at thelindgroup.com. Lind is LYND. But hey, we're here. You know what? Tana and I, we're dealing with this stuff all day long. Obviously, there's a lot of pessimism. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of concern out there. Do not hesitate to call us. We'd be happy to talk you through it and help you understand your choices and the things you need to be doing. Other than that, though, we appreciate everybody joining us and watching our shows and sharing them with their friends. And I hope everyone has a great day. Toodaloo.